just as surely as there is a law that governs the rising of the sun or the turning of the tides. Money is not hard to get when we stand in alignment with the divine law of supply. We do not struggle, we do not force, we do not chase after wealth as though it were running away from us. Instead, we declare with unwavering faith, money comes to me under grace, in perfect ways. Money is not a material object alone. It is a symbol of energy, a form of circulation, a divine instrument placed in this world for freedom, comfort, and good works. To say, money comes to me, is not to beg or to demand. It is to claim what already belongs to us by right of consciousness. Every soul has a portion of infinite supply set aside by divine intelligence. No man can take what is divinely appointed for you, and nothing can keep it from reaching you when you call it forth under grace. Many cry out that money is scarce, that opportunities are few, that doors remain closed. Yet, these are illusions built upon fear. When one speaks of lack, one magnetizes lack. When one speaks of wealth and faith, one attracts abundance. We are told to watch our words, for the spoken word is power, the spoken word is law. If you say, I never have enough, the universe echoes back, so be it. If you say, money comes to me under grace, unseen channels are opened, doors swing wide, and supply rushes forth in ways that are right and perfect. The law of grace is the great safety net of life. To receive under grace means that nothing is taken from another, nothing is forced, nothing brings sorrow later. It means that your wealth comes clothed in peace, comes wrapped in joy, comes in divine right timing. Some may gain riches by grasping, by dishonesty, by selfish will, but such riches carry hidden burdens. The wealth that comes under grace brings freedom, not bondage, blessings, not burdens. When you declare, money come to me under grace, you step out of the realm of chance and step into the realm of certainty. You move away from toil and step into effortless alignment. The universe begins to conspire in your favor. Unexpected checks arrive, forgotten debts are repaid. Opportunities appear where once there seemed to be none, and strangers become channels of blessing. This is the divine orchestration that human effort alone could never arrange. But you must prepare your heart to receive. Many speak words of prosperity but secretly hold fear, doubt, or resentment within. Such emotions build invisible walls against supply. Resentment of another's wealth blocks your own. Fear of poverty invites its shadow. Doubt in divine supply delays its appearance. Therefore cleanse the inner chamber of thought. Release envy, release anxiety, release unbelief. Say, I welcome money under grace, I receive money in joy. I handle money with wisdom, I spend money in love, and money circulates back to me multiplied. Money is not an enemy, money is not evil. Money in the hands of the righteous builds schools, feeds the hungry, shelters the homeless, and spreads good across the earth. When money comes under grace, it serves as a tool for divine expression. When you claim supply without guilt, without fear, and without hesitation, you honor the source from which all good flows. Never say that money is hard to get. That statement is a chain around your feet. Instead, affirm daily, money comes to me easily, effortlessly, and under grace. I do not compete, I do not struggle. My wealth is drawn by the magnet of divine favor. Each time you speak these words, you plant a seed in the garden of the invisible. In due time, those seeds sprout into visible blessings, into opportunities, into financial freedom. The law of substitution teaches that when fear arises, replace it immediately with faith. When worry about bills appears, do not magnify it. Instead declare, there is no debt in divine mind, therefore, there is no debt in my life. Money comes to me under grace, and every obligation is met with ease and joy. In this way, you do not bow to appearances but rise into truth. Money under grace does not come by accident. It comes by declaration, by faith, by expectancy. What you expect you attract. What you fear you magnetize. What you prepare for you receive. Therefore, prepare your mind for abundance. See yourself wealthy, not in greed but in gratitude. See yourself as a channel of blessing. Expect to be surprised by good. Expect the unexpected. Expect the miraculous. Say it now with faith in your heart. Money come to me under grace in perfect ways. Say it, until every cell of your being vibrates with assurance. Say it until fear dissolves like mist in the morning sun. Say it until the universe bends to your word, and delivers supply from channels you could not have imagined. For nothing is too hard for divine intelligence, and no good thing will be withheld when you ask under grace. Money is a divine supply that flows through the law of grace, not through struggle or force, and this truth has been misunderstood by countless souls, who have been taught to believe that money must always be chased, fought for, and earned through endless labor. Yet when one understands the spiritual law that governs supply, the entire picture changes. Money ceases to be a cruel master that must be pursued, and instead becomes a willing servant that arrives when summoned under divine order. To say that money flows under grace is to acknowledge that there is a higher intelligence orchestrating every channel of supply, and that the wealth appointed for each person does not depend solely upon effort or competition, but upon alignment with the flow of infinite abundance. The human mind has been conditioned to believe that life is a battlefield, where one must push, scheme, or manipulate in order to gain material wealth. But when money is approached through force, it often carries hidden burdens of worry, loss, and unrest. Struggle breeds resistance, and resistance blocks the flow. Grace, however, opens the floodgates because grace is the law of ease, harmony, and divine timing. When one lives by grace, they know that there is an invisible supply already provided, waiting for the right command of faith. Just as the air is freely available for every living being, so is financial provision available to each soul, though many do not claim it. To affirm that money comes under grace is to shift consciousness from fear to faith, from anxiety to assurance. Instead of looking to the world with desperation, one looks to the source of all creation, confident that no good thing is withheld. Money is not earned by fear, nor by anxious toil, but by right thinking, right speaking, and right believing. The world may say that the only way to prosper is to compete fiercely, to work endlessly, or to take from others. But the divine law reveals that what belongs to you cannot be taken by another, and what is not yours will never bring you joy even if you grasp it by force. Therefore, to invite money under grace is to invite only that which is rightful, harmonious, and lasting. Consider the difference between money gained by sheer human will and money received under grace. When someone forces a deal, manipulates circumstances, or strains themselves endlessly, the wealth obtained may appear large, but it often comes with tension, betrayal, hidden costs, or burdens too heavy to bear. In contrast, when supply arrives under grace, it enters in peace. It blesses not only the receiver but those around them, and it opens paths that remain clear and stable. Grace means there is no struggle, no sense of loss for anyone involved, no lingering bitterness, only the smooth unfolding of divine order. Money under grace comes through channels that seem almost miraculous, through doors that appear just when needed, through opportunities that fit perfectly without strain. It is the difference between swimming upstream against a current and allowing oneself to be carried downstream by a gentle flow. Many fear that unless they force money to come, it will never arrive. But such fear is rooted in the illusion of separation from divine supply. The truth is that supply is never absent, it is only blocked by doubt, fear, or wrong belief. When one declares, "Money comes to me under grace," the declaration itself clears away these blocks. It lifts the mind into expectancy and opens the heart to receive. Grace is the unseen hand that arranges the details, aligns the right people, and releases the right amounts at the right times. No human calculation could match the precision of divine grace. Struggle is the mark of the ego attempting to control, but flow is the mark of grace directing life. To align with grace is to step out of anxiety and into certainty, knowing that the universe must respond to faith as surely as a seed responds to the soil and the rain. It is important to see money, not as an enemy nor as an idol, but as a divine servant. Money under grace does not corrupt, for it comes wrapped in peace and guided by wisdom. When a person fears money, they repel it. When they worship money, they enslave themselves to it. But when they see money as part of the infinite circulation of good, they handle it freely, they bless it, and they use it for purposes that multiply blessings. To say, money is a divine supply, is to acknowledge that it is not controlled by man-made systems alone. Nor is it a random chance of luck. It is a spiritual current flowing through countless visible and invisible channels, and each soul has access to this current by aligning with divine law. Struggle attempts to dam the current, but grace allows the current to flow freely. Those who live under grace often find that their needs are met in ways they could not have planned. Bills are paid from unexpected sources, opportunities appear that surpass effort, and doors open where walls once seemed to exist. They are not lazy nor idle, but they act in inspired ways rather than in desperate struggle. Grace guides their actions, their timing, and their choices. The right idea may come in a quiet moment, leading to abundance far beyond what ordinary labor could produce. The right connection may appear at the right hour, bringing wealth through harmony rather than through conflict. This is the nature of money under grace. It is effortless in its arrival, yet powerful in its effect. When one trusts this law, they cease to fear lack, for they know that supply is as certain as the sunrise, provided they stand firm in faith. To depend on struggle is to depend on the limited strength of the human will, but to depend on grace is to depend on the infinite strength of divine law. Human will eventually tires, but divine supply never exhausts. The more one affirms, believes, and expects money to arrive under grace, the more natural it becomes to see abundance unfold. This is not fantasy, nor is it wishful thinking. It is the practical application of a higher law. The invisible governs the visible, and thoughts of harmony, expectancy, and faith draw visible channels of money into manifestation. The one who aligns with grace walks in peace, even before the money arrives, because they know it is already on the way, and this very peace is the magnet that quickens its arrival. Money is a divine supply that flows under grace, and when one truly accepts this, the endless cycle of fear and force dissolves into freedom. And assurance words and beliefs shape financial reality. Affirm abundance to attract abundance. For every spoken word is a seed planted in the soil of the subconscious, and every belief is the invisible law that governs what will appear in one's life. Many people fail to see the connection between their constant talk of lack and the endless experiences of lack they endure. When one says repeatedly, "I never have enough," or "money is hard to come by," they are unknowingly issuing a decree that the universe must obey. The outer world is always reflecting the inner conversation. A mind that is saturated with fear and words of poverty cannot produce prosperity, because the soil has been sown with weeds of doubt and expectation of struggle. But when one begins to replace every thought of lack with words of abundance, when one begins to declare, "Money comes to me freely and easily, wealth surrounds me, opportunities open before me," the soil is cleared and new seeds are planted. Seeds that must eventually bear fruit in visible form. The spoken word carries vibration, and vibration is creative. It is not a matter of superstition but of spiritual law. To speak of lack is to vibrate lack. To speak of wealth is to vibrate wealth. This is why one must guard the tongue and the thoughts carefully, because every careless word is a command to unseen forces. Some complain daily of debt, of bills, of hardships, yet wonder why the situation never changes. They are watering the very weeds they wish to uproot. The mind is a field that must be cultivated with discipline, with attention, with constant affirmation of truth. The truth is abundance, the lie is lack. Abundance is eternal, for it is rooted in the infinite nature of creation. Lack is an appearance born of fear, born of belief in limitation. By affirming abundance, one aligns with truth, and truth always has the power to dissolve appearances of lack. Belief is the foundation upon which all experience rests. If you believe you are unworthy of wealth, you will unconsciously repel it. If you believe that money can only come through struggle, you will continually struggle. If you believe that money comes to you under grace, in perfect ways, you will begin to see ease and flow where once you saw resistance. The subconscious mind accepts every belief without question and works tirelessly to bring it into form. It is like a faithful servant that takes instructions without judgment. If you instruct it with fear, it produces fearful results. If you instruct it with prosperity, it produces prosperous results. Words are the tools by which we give those instructions. Belief is the soil in which those words take root. A powerful affirmation spoken without belief has little effect, but when belief and words are united, the results are inevitable. This is why repetition is so essential. Repetition impresses the subconscious until belief is established. And once belief is established, manifestation follows naturally. There are countless testimonies of people who changed their circumstances simply by changing their words and beliefs. Those who once lived in poverty found themselves surrounded by new opportunities after they ceased complaining and began affirming abundance. Doors that had been closed suddenly opened, not because the world had changed, but because their inner vibration had shifted, and the outer world mirrored that shift. Faith-filled words act like keys that unlock invisible doors. Doubt-filled words act like locks that shut those same doors tight. When a person says, "I am prosperous," wealth flows to me. With conviction, they are striking a tuning fork that resonates with prosperity in the unseen realm. That vibration draws into their life people ideas and opportunities that match the frequency. Just as a magnet draws iron filings, words and beliefs draw circumstances in harmony with them. One of the greatest errors is speaking words of abundance while harboring beliefs of fear and doubt. This creates a divided vibration, and a divided vibration cannot produce consistent results. For example, someone may say, "I am wealthy," but deep within they believe, "I will always be broke." The inner belief cancels the outer affirmation. The key is persistence, for persistence dissolves doubt. When affirmations are repeated often enough, they impress the subconscious mind and begin to override old patterns of belief. Over time, the belief shifts, and once it shifts, the outer world must follow. This is why patience and consistency are vital in shaping financial reality. Just as a garden does not grow overnight, so too the harvest of abundance requires consistent sowing of words and consistent cultivation of belief. There is also power in gratitude as a spoken word and as a belief. To give thanks for what one has, no matter how small, multiplies it. Gratitude affirms abundance already present, and by affirming abundance, it attracts more abundance. To constantly complain of what is lacking is to affirm poverty, and by affirming poverty, one invites more of it. Gratitude shifts the vibration instantly. A heart that says, "Thank you for the money I have. Thank you for the supply that is on its way," cannot remain in want for long, because it is vibrating in harmony with increase. Words of gratitude create a magnetic field around the individual, drawing more reasons to be grateful. Beliefs of gratitude anchor the consciousness in abundance rather than lack, and this anchoring makes financial increase inevitable. Another aspect of words and beliefs shaping financial reality is the elimination of envy and resentment. When one envies the wealth of another, they are affirming separation from that wealth. They are saying, "That wealth is theirs and cannot be mine." This belief blocks supply. But when one blesses the prosperity of others, affirming, "What is possible for them is possible for me, and my own supply comes under grace," they align with the truth of unlimited abundance. Words of blessing open channels. Words of resentment close them. Belief in a limited universe creates competition and fear. Belief in an unlimited universe creates peace and expectancy. Words that reflect generosity, joy, and goodwill shape a financial reality filled with harmony and abundance. Words that reflect bitterness, jealousy, or anger shape a financial reality filled with struggle and loss. To affirm abundance is not merely to say the words mechanically, but to feel their truth as one speaks them. Feeling charges the words with power. Belief gives them roots. Together, they shape reality. When one says with deep conviction, "I am open to receive wealth under grace," the universe responds. When one says with fear, "I never have enough," the universe responds equally. For the law is impartial. The law always gives form to the dominant words and beliefs held by the individual. Therefore, the most important work anyone can do to change their financial life is to change the conversation they hold with themselves and the beliefs they nurture in silence. What you continually affirm, you eventually become. What you continually believe, you eventually see. To speak abundance is to create abundance. To believe in abundance is to live it. Words and beliefs are not empty gestures. They are the very architecture of financial destiny. Receiving money under grace ensures blessings without burden, wealth without harm. For there are many ways by which people may come into possession of riches, but not all ways bring peace or security. Some accumulate wealth through dishonest dealings, through exploitation, or through endless toil, yet the riches they hold are laced with worry, fear of loss, strained relationships, and heavy responsibilities that weigh upon the soul. Such money is never truly theirs in freedom, for it came through force, through fear, or through the manipulation of circumstances, and what comes through struggle often departs in struggle. The law of grace is different. For when supply comes under grace, it comes without sorrow, it comes in right timing, it comes through channels that bless not only the receiver, but also those connected to the flow. Grace is the safeguard of prosperity, ensuring that wealth arrives in ways that uplift rather than oppress, in ways that heal rather than harm. When one declares that money comes under grace, they are invoking the higher law that prevents misfortune from being attached to their prosperity. Wealth under grace never comes at the expense of another person's well-being, never leaves behind bitterness, never brings regret. It flows in balance and harmony with divine order, fitting perfectly into the life of the receiver without disrupting peace. Money gained through force can bind a person in chains of anxiety, for they know deep within that something is amiss, that their riches may vanish as quickly as they appeared. But money received under grace carries with it the assurance that it is divinely ordained, that it cannot be taken away unjustly, that it belongs to the individual by right of consciousness. This kind of wealth frees rather than enslaves, because it carries no hidden debt, no karmic burden, no shadow of lost wealth without harm means that money multiplies joy rather than fear. It allows one to meet obligations with ease, to support loved ones, to give generously, and to enjoy the comforts of life without guilt or shame. Money under grace empowers the soul to use wealth as a channel of blessing, to circulate good in the world, to uplift others, and to create a ripple of abundance. When money arrives through harsh striving, people often cling tightly to it, fearing it will disappear. They become possessive, stingy, or suspicious. Yet when it arrives under grace, they know there is an endless supply and that giving cannot diminish their wealth, but only increases it. Their financial state becomes a reflection of spiritual truth, that what is received easily under grace continues to flow easily, that circulation is natural and safe, and that wealth increases by being shared rather than hoarded. Blessings without burden also mean that the supply is not too little and not too much, but exactly what is needed for right expression at the right time. There are those who chase after excessive wealth without preparation, only to find themselves overwhelmed, their peace disturbed, their lives disrupted. Grace knows the perfect measure for each soul, delivering what can be handled wisely, and what will bring the greatest harmony. It never brings more than can be enjoyed responsibly, nor does it leave one in want. It brings prosperity in alignment with purpose, so that money becomes a servant to destiny rather than a distraction from it. A sudden windfall without grace may lead to reckless living or destructive choices, but money under grace aligns perfectly with wisdom, keeping the individual steady and secure. To trust in wealth under grace is to rest in the knowledge that money is not coming through manipulation or strain, but through divine orchestration. It removes the temptation to cut corners, to compete with envy, or to push ahead by force. Instead, it teaches patience, expectancy, and faith. The individual who understands this truth no longer worries about when or how supply will appear, for they know that it must come at the right time and in the right way. They can release fear of missed opportunities, for what is theirs cannot be taken from them. They can cease striving after what does not belong to them, for they understand that such striving brings burden, while grace brings peace. They walk in confidence, knowing that each step forward will be met with provision, that each need is already answered before it arises, that the channels of supply are always prepared. Wealth without harm also speaks to health, relationships, and peace of mind. What use is money if it costs one their health through endless stress, if it costs one their friendships through betrayal, if it costs one their joy through fear of loss? Money gained through force often tears apart what is most valuable in life, but money gained under grace enhances it. It strengthens families, deepens trust, and provides freedom for creative and meaningful living. It never requires one to sacrifice integrity or to abandon principles. It comes in ways that confirm rather than compromise one's values. This is why affirming that money comes under grace is so powerful. It shields the individual from false prosperity that would later bring ruin, and it ensures that all financial increase contributes to lasting happiness rather than temporary satisfaction. There are also spiritual burdens that accompany wealth when it is not received under grace. Those who take what is not rightly theirs may find themselves restless, never at ease, fearing exposure, fearing downfall. Their riches become chains, their possessions become prisons. But under grace, money is accompanied by lightness, by freedom, by a sense of safety. One can rest in the assurance that the supply is divinely guided, divinely guarded, and divinely growing. There is no fear of betrayal, no dread of sudden reversal, because the prosperity is grounded in eternal law, not in the shifting sands of human schemes. Grace secures wealth in such a way that it cannot collapse, for it is built upon the unshakable foundation of divine provision. Money under grace also ensures that financial blessings align with one's highest purpose. There is no conflict between spiritual calling and material supply. Instead, the two work hand in hand, each supporting the other. Wealth flows into the life of the one who is ready to use it wisely, who sees it as a tool rather than a master. This kind of wealth elevates, inspires, and liberates, because it was never meant to be a burden, but a channel for the expression of divine good. To receive under grace is to know that every coin, every bill, every opportunity comes with a blessing attached, and that blessing multiplies as it is shared and circulated. In this way, money becomes more than material gain. It becomes a current of divine life, carrying harmony wherever it flows. Expectation, gratitude, and faith open unseen channels for money to arrive in perfect ways, because the universe responds not to fear or doubt, but to the vibration of belief and receptivity. To expect is to prepare is to believe, and to believe is to open the door through which supply may enter. Many live in a state of constant worry, hoping for provision yet secretly expecting disappointment, and thus they unconsciously close the very channels they desire to see open. Expectation is like the seed planted in the soil, it carries within it the pattern of the harvest. A farmer who sows wheat expects wheat, not thorns, not weeds, not stones. In the same way, one who sows words of abundance and waters them with gratitude must expect abundance to appear. Without expectation, the seed lies dormant, never sprouting into form, but when expectation is strong and